learned that his father wasn't telling the whole truth and nothing but. Of course, that didn't stop him, even now, from wondering why his mother hadn't taken him with her. If she couldn't stand his father's inability to hold down a real job, then why had she left Geo behind? And why hadn't she put her foot down when her father insisted that they name their son after the car in which he had been conceived, a Geostorm? He still hadn't even figured out the logistics of having sex in a Geostorm, much less why any self-respecting mother would allow her son to be given such a name. Whatever. His nemesis, Truvy Fuller, poked her head around the door. "Guys, it's time." 10 minutes earlier in the bridal suite. "I don't get what you have against Geo," Fiona Macklin said as she tried to balance the cheap veil on her head. It had been a last-minute addition, and Truvy didn't understand why her best friend felt the need for a veil in the first place. 1, she was no longer a virgin. 2, she wore a smart beige suit rather than a wedding gown. 3, the veil had already proven itself a pain in the ass, and she informed Fiona of just that. "Dylan said he's always dreamed of being able to remove a veil from his bride's face before he kissed her, and he's going to get what he wants." Confident that Fiona couldn't see her, Truvy rolled her eyes. Dylan was full of big ideas and grand gestures. Better Fiona than her because she couldn't live with a man that spontaneous. No, she needed order and quiet. Life had thrown her enough curveballs already. She didn't need a groom who made crazy last-minute requests. "Fiona, are you sure about this? It was awfully sudden." "Sudden? We've known each other for years. Besides, sometimes you just know. It was either get married now or wait until both Dylan and I had been at our new jobs long enough to get some vacation. Our leases were both up. It was fate. Kismet, if you will." "If you say so," Truvy said as she adjusted the veil with an army of bobby pins. If it were really fate, then Dylan and Fiona wouldn't have broken their first engagement a year after they both graduated from college and 1 month before the wedding. Truvy was afraid that the 10-year anniversary of their college reunion had Fiona worried that she would never marry, and thus she'd settled for what she knew. Of course, when she told Fiona this, her friend had pointed out that she had time to date other men, and she preferred Dylan's quirks to any of theirs. Fiona sighed. "I swear you and Geo are perfect for one another." Truvy almost choked on one of the bobby pins she held between her lips, turning to spit the last 3 across the room. "Fiona Macklin, that was the worst date I have ever been on, including the time I went out with Gregory Calhoun." Fiona laughed so hard it ended in a snort. Somehow, she still made it charming. Gregory Calhoun had been a linebacker at their high school, and Fiona had bet Truvy $20 that she couldn't survive an entire date with him. Truvy had let the giant down gently when he asked for a second date, and then collected her $20 from Fiona. "He's actually a nice guy. You saw he married Candace, and you know she doesn't suffer fools." "What can I say? I was young and stupid and hung up on appearances," Fiona said as she applied another layer of pink lip gloss. Fiona might no longer be hung up on appearances, but her mother was going to have a cow. No, an entire herd of cattle. When she found out her daughter had gotten married in a Gatlinburg chapel. Come to think of it, the first wedding had probably been canceled because Fiona and Dylan had fought constantly over how the wedding would go. He wanted something simple. Fiona would agree to almost anything to get her mother off her back. Meanwhile, Fiona's father was still mad about all of the deposit money that had been wasted, and he still didn't like Dylan Alexander. Probably easier to elope and then break the news to them. Truvy shrugged. Not her circus and most certainly not her monkeys, and boy was she glad of it. The Macklins had a mansion down by the Tennessee River that had more rooms than she could imagine. But with all of that space, there wasn't much affection. Truvy still remembered overhearing Fiona's mother telling her, "If you're not going to put on lipstick, then don't come home at all. You look like a homicide victim without lipstick." So it was no wonder that Fiona used to deal so much in appearances. It was what she'd been taught. Truvy, on the other hand, had grown up across town in a modest frame house that was alive with noise and emotion. First, her father's drunken bellows had kept everyone